The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Welcome back to the program. It's 11 minutes after 8 on your Sunday morning, and we are very pleased now to welcome His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal, Executive Chairman of the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority. Good morning.
Morning.
I should say Sabah al Khair.
Sabah al-Noor.
There we go. Abdul, Karim, I know that you have been gearing up to have His Excellency into the studio to hear all about WTM, what Shurooq has been up to over the past almost decade or so. I'll let you kick things off.
Yes, so I met His Excellency for the first time. In fact, it was when Al Jazeera Park was renamed Al Muntaza Park, and we opened it. And this was a few years ago. And since then, I caught up with him at the Flag Island as well. We had the UAE Flag Day, and then we've invited him onto the show, and he's very nicely accepted the invitation. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Your Excellency.
Thank you for inviting me. I would like to say something that
Yes.
I am so proud to have an English listening channel, Sharjah Pulse. It was always my dream to have a message to be given out to the English speakers, English listeners, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to tell them more about Sharjah.
For sure, and this is why we're here, and this is why you're here as well. So, Your Excellency, let's start things off with the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority. Now, you and I are both aware we have a large number of population and people living in Sharjah who commute to the other Emirates and might have heard about Shurooq, might have seen lots of branding about Shurooq. Talk to us about what this authority does and what your role is in promoting Sharjah.
Sure. So actually, Shurooq stands for the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority. It's an entity that was created in February 2009 with the main objective is to attract investments to Sharjah and to develop projects all around Sharjah. So our main objective is to attract foreign direct investments to the Emirate of Sharjah and to different sectors that we feel that those sectors require or has an opportunity for investors to come and invest in. And the other part was actually to develop Sharjah's economy, to develop it into different levels, and that's what was Shurooq doing in the past 9 years, I would say.
And this authority's been there for 9 years itself. And talk to us about, we all love numbers when we talk business over here. So talk to us about the amount of investment it has brought in and the number of companies maybe it has facilitated in.
So actually, since the beginning, we started with Shurooq with several projects. When we started in the mainland Sharjah with Al Majaz waterfront, which transformed the whole area of Al Majaz, where the Khalid Lagoon is creating additional food and beverage destinations, creating one of the biggest water features, the Sharjah Fountain and the musical fountain. And within that, we developed, all after that is the heart of Sharjah, the regeneration of the whole historical area of Sharjah. And then we went to different areas around the Emirate of Sharjah. So we're talking about almost 7.6 billion dirham was actually worth of investment that has been since 2009 till today. And I'm talking about not only the city of Sharjah, but Sharjah, Khorfakan, Kalba, Dibba, each and every area in Sharjah between the central region, east coast and west coast had a project from Sharjah, from a development that is purely to re-energize and attract investments to a project that basically create an economic impact, social impact, and basically environmental impact.
Talk to us a little bit more then about all of these different aspects. You mentioned just off air that you were in a few different cities in Europe.
Sure.
You're set to go to Cannes as well.
Yes.
I believe in a few days' time or potentially tomorrow. What exactly are these activations and roadshows, and how do they play a wider part?
So what we do is basically within Shurooq is we promote Sharjah internationally. So we attract investments. So we've been recently in the World Travel Market. The World Travel Market in London is one of the biggest international shows about tourism. My colleagues were there promoting Sharjah, promoting our destinations, which is Al Majaz, Al Qasba, Flag Island, Mleha Archaeological Project, the Kingfisher Lodge, the whole Sharjah collection. But on the other hand, we've been also traveling within the whole region promoting Sharjah. So we've been even in Italy trying to promote Sharjah to Italian investors. We've been before that, as I said, in London. I'm going this week to MAPEC, one of the biggest retail events that talks about developing the retail sectors. So every other week, we are somewhere around the globe. So we've been even in China. Just yesterday, my colleagues came from China, also attending one of the biggest shows when it comes to investments. So what we do in investments, we basically try to attract and promote Sharjah. So we focus on within our investment arm, which is the Sharjah FDI office, the Invest in Sharjah, is basically promote the four sectors that we feel that Sharjah really has a potential in it to grow, which is the environmental sector, the healthcare sector, the logistics and transportation sectors, and the tourism sector. So 4 sectors we actually focus on, and we basically present figures and facts that these sectors have a huge demand. They have less supply currently, and that makes it easier for us when we promote Sharjah internationally. So we recently went to the World Investment Forum in Geneva. That actually was one of the biggest events that talks about foreign direct investments, and we have won the best one of the best stands in the World Investment Forum that is held in the United Nations headquarters. And so by that we had the opportunity also to speak about Sharjah, talk about the potential in these sectors, and basically promote it. And so we met government officials, but also from the private sector. So in the past several years, Shurooq managed to promote Sharjah internationally, created international agreements between us and different nations to co-promote them, and creating forums all around the globe. So recently in Boston we were there, in Italy. We're traveling all around the globe to put out Sharjah's name all around the globe, and to promote it, and to tell people what are the opportunities that are available in Sharjah within Invest in Sharjah.
Stay with us here on the Morning Majlis. More with His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal from Shurooq next.
Heart of Sharjah. This is Pulse 95. Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Good morning. This is the Morning Majlis, and we have His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal, who is the Executive Chairman of Shurooq, right here in the studios with us. And we just talked about Shurooq and what it does and its role in improving and bringing more investment towards Sharjah. But Your Excellency Marwan, I have to touch a little bit on your background. Now, what does Sharjah mean to you personally? Because you've done a BASc in accounting, you were an executive producer, then you started your journey here as chief of Al Qasba in 2006. So a huge celebration for you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an amazing journey, I would say. One of the biggest reasons is basically Sheikh Abdul being the first founder of Shurooq, the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority, and it has actually started in 2006 when I was asked to basically join Al Qasba team at that time. And at that time, Al Qasba was an idea of creating a destination, a cultural destination, and transforming it to one of the most important cultural destinations that has a lot of activities, events, and revive the whole area to make it one of the most prominent places in the Emirate of Sharjah. So the idea was, are you going to join within the whole team that is going to transform what Al Qasba today is?
Yes.
And then you never know what will happen next. And what happened next was in 2009, Sharjah Investment and Development Authority was created, Shurooq, to transform not only Al Qasba but the whole Emirate of Sharjah, with creating magnificent projects, exciting events throughout the whole year, and developing and reshaping how Sharjah looks today.
Yes, it certainly has been changing a lot, so I'll be touching on that as well. But one thing for a lot of Sharjawis and a lot of expats who've lived in Dubai and in Sharjah as well, Al Jazeera Park.
Yeah.
What a childhood memory for me as well. I remember the little rides. I remember the fun play that we had over there as well. Talk to us about how that has now been evolved into Al Muntaza Park that you've got, and you've got some developments coming up as well for that.
So what we do in Shurooq, basically we look at projects around Sharjah, and we think about how can we revive those areas. And as you said, Al Muntaza, who doesn't know what happened in Al Muntaza, doesn't really know a lot about the history of this part, and it was one of the most entertainment parks in the region, I would say. So the idea was to revive this whole area, but what we did is basically we added a water park component to Al Muntaza, which was something different to Sharjah. It was when it opened a couple of years ago. or reopened, it was the first water park in Sharjah, and we tried to focus and make it a bit different than the other water parks. So we focused on family water parks for the little ones. And recently, just 2 weeks ago, we have opened the amusement park, where you have we created a theming of different civilizations around the globe. So today it has a water park, but also an amusement park, and it's within a city. It makes it one of the unique parks in the United Arab Emirates that, guess what, between your home and reaching Al-Muntaza is basically less than 20 minutes, and that makes it a fascinating location in the city center of Sharjah.
And the city centre of Sharjah as well. I think Anna's been trying to convince me about going down to the Al Majaz waterfront and trying restaurants over there. So Al Majaz waterfront itself was another unique destination, surely. And this is something that you've also been marketing on LinkedIn as well, inviting investors.
Well, Al Majaz waterfront is one of the exciting projects because it started with an idea of a fountain that was there, that was not functioning. Sharjah fountain is basically the third largest fountain in the world after Geneva and after Jeddah and Geneva. So that makes it one of the most prominent areas in the Emirate, but it was lacking retail component. It was lacking something about it. So we thought about retransforming the whole area and adding an F&B component, and then we thought of adding another musical fountain in front of the cafes and restaurants to make it a reviving place. So the idea was to come up with a destination, a dining destination, where you have restaurants for the first time that will come to Sharjah. Today we have recently opened the phase 2 of Al Majaz waterfront with many new restaurants. We have an Emirati restaurant, Al Fanar. We have an Indian restaurant, Oshna. A very nice place to visitors. We have the first library/cafe in Sharjah, which is called Al Rawi, which is a fascinating place for visitors to come, enjoy reading a book, and just enjoy many events and activities happening there. So Al Majaz waterfront today is one of the most known destination for food and beverage.
And I just want to open up the conversation because next we're going to be speaking about the Sharjah collection, which part of the properties are out of the city centre, but within the city centre we do also have something very exciting happening in the next few weeks. Could you just give us a tease of what people could expect?
Well, Sharjah collection is a story that started. We thought about revolving the tourism sector in Sharjah, and we were not thinking about adding more rooms to Sharjah, but creating an exciting destination. So we created an idea of creating the Sharjah collection, which basically takes you to other places around Sharjah. And the first project was recently opened. It's called the Kingfisher Lodge. The Kingfisher Lodge sits in Kalba city, which is in the east coast next to Fujairah on the borders of Oman, where it is a protected site that 4 years ago we closed that area within the mangroves. We signed an agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency Authority and thought about developing this whole area to make it an exciting destination. It's an adventure. It's about turtles. It's about birds watching. It's about kayaking. It's about an area where you have mountain, woodlands, mangroves, and the Arabian Sea in front of you. So it's a fascinating location. But the most amazing thing about it, that basically you're actually staying in a tent.
And we're going to be talking more about that next with His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal, Executive Chairman of Shurooq, here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
95.
Keeping it local. Keeping it local. All day, every day.
Pulse 95.
Heart of Sharjah.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
8:36 on your Sunday morning, and we're very pleased to still have His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal, the Executive Chairman of Shurooq, in the studio. Thanks for sticking around.
Thank you.
Now, just before the break, we had an enlightening discussion about Kingfisher Lodge, which has been open 6 months now. It's this incredible first-of-its-kind experience here in the United Arab Emirates. What's the response been like in the first 6 months of opening? Because I went there in the first early weeks of it being open. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. There is, in fact, a podcast up to listen to me experiencing it firsthand here at Pulse 95.
Yeah.
But what's the reaction been like for the first 6 months?
Well, it was fantastic. Actually, it's the idea of having 20 tents in the middle of the mangroves, just facing that Arabian Sea or the Indian Ocean. It's just fascinating because you're very exclusive in a huge area, and you have to cross a whole canal by a boat, and then end up being in a place that you're only there by yourself with maybe 19 other tents that are occupied. Weekends are fully booked. We have created a destination where basically we want people to explore what is happening there. So it's why calling it the Kingfisher bird is because the kingfisher is known for that area. It's native to that area, and it's well known as the Kalbanese kingfisher bird. So you can only see it in Kalba. The other thing is that you can do a lot of activities, kayaking around the sites, birds watching, walking trails. You can actually use the bicycle and explore the site around it. But the idea is with 20 tents, 5 of them are family tents, where you have like three bedrooms and a majlis and a plunge pool, and the other 15 are single tents. The whole idea of being in a tent, more about glamping, is something that is coming up within the tourism industry. It is something that is countries are creating or cities are creating to create a different experience for you to be out there in the nature and within that environment. And we think that's the only place within the United Arab Emirates that you can really explore being out in the nature without compromising anything else.
No, for sure. Now, Your Excellency Marwan, I've got my notepad out here now. I'm making some notes, and I have to go down to Kalba as well and experience the Kingfisher Lodge. But now, for our listeners, and I like geography, in terms of getting the maps out there, and let's explain to our listeners that Sharjah, we have the city centre, which is the capital, Sharjah, that we have. Then we have the eastern region. We also have the 3 little cities that we have in the eastern region, for sure, and then the central region. Now, your organisation has been trying to build and develop all these little pockets that Sharjah has to offer.
Sure. We're trying to promote Sharjah whole emirate and what are the potential in each location. So we try to basically create a positioning for each city. So in Kalba, we worked with the EPAA in Sharjah and developing the ecotourism sector. And at that start with the Al-Hafiyya project, releasing the gazelles and Hafiyya, which is one of the areas that is very different than any other area because it has the mountains are connected to woodlands and then to the mangroves. And so ecotourism was really a start for us within Kalba to promote that region. Then within the east coast, we have Kalba, we have Khorfakan that sits in the middle. So Kalba sits closer to Oman, then Fujairah comes, then Khorfakan comes, and in Khorfakan we're creating a beach development there, and we have announced the Chedi on the mountains, which is called Al Jabal Resort, and then after that comes Fujairah again, and then comes next is Dibba. And Dibba, there we're developing a retail component. And after Dibba comes Oman. So that's from a geography point of view, what is happening on the east coast. Then in the central region, we have the well-known Adhaid area, which is a farming known area. And then next to Adhaid is on the same line as Mleha, where we have our archaeological projects. That we have archaeology that goes back to the Paleolithic age. I'm talking about 130,000 years. And it's a fascinating destination that a lot of visitors have visited and experienced the history, not of the United Arab Emirates, but the history of mankind when man moved from Africa to Asia, settling in Mleha. So staying in the central region is Mleha, is Adhaid, Al Madam area, and Al Faya and Al Badayr. And then we go to Sharjah, where we have Sharjah city, which is the capital of the Sharjah Emirate, and we have Al Hamriya. And then after that, we cross and we go to the Arabian Sea or the Arabian Gulf. We have Sir Bunair Island, which is one of the islands that is known as a protected site within one of the protected sites of the United Arab Emirates, and especially in Sharjah. So we try within Shurooq to develop projects in each and every city within Sharjah, but trying to make different projects, not only focusing on tourism, but focusing on development in general.
And what exactly, I just want to delve into that development specifically. You've spoken at length about Kingfisher Lodge being that ecotourism combination and luxury as well.
Yeah.
But for those that aren't familiar with the other two Sharjah Collection developments, take us through what they can entail.
Yeah, sure. So in the central region, within next to Mleha, there is an area called Al Faya, where we actually found a building that used to be used as a clinic and a fuel pump station, but it was abandoned for a couple of years. So in the 60s, people used to travel and commute between Sharjah and Fujairah, and they stop over to fill up their gas and continue their commute. And so we thought about this building looks so nice. It's striking. It has a different architectural feeling. And we thought about why don't we develop something that is a bit different than what is offered here. So we transformed this building, which is a bit small. You're talking about if we manage to transform it, we're going to manage to have 5 rooms only. And then we said, let's take the challenge. So we transformed that building from a clinic to a lodge with 5 rooms, but each room is so striking when it comes to its design, the interior design, because we had to keep the same structure. We couldn't add anything to that structure. So we have 5 rooms on one side of the road. On the other side of the road, we had a cafe. So we added a component which is creating more interior space for the cafe, and we kept the fuel pump, and then we added one component which is a sea salt spa in the middle of the desert. And guess what? How a sea salt spa in the middle of the desert will look like.
Yeah, well, we'll have
Can't
to keep
wait
this
to
conversation
experience.
for sure.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll keep that conversation going with His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal of Shurooq. Stay with us here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Good morning. This is the Morning Majlis, right here with Anna Roberts and myself, Abdul, Karim, Hanif. And we have a co-presenter with us as well from Shurooq, His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal, who's the Executive Chairman. And he just gave us a bit of a tour of Sharjah as an emirate. We moved into the eastern region. We also are back in the central region before we head back into Sharjah. So, Your Excellency Marwan, we've got Al Badayr Oasis also coming up and Al Bayt Hotel that we'd like to get some information about.
So Al Badayr is an exciting project. Al Badayr is well known for the SUV drivers, the guys that loves dune bashing or exploring the adrenaline. We tried to create an area for families to come and visit and stay over the night there. And so Al Badayr is a fantastic project that has almost 31 rooms. Some of the rooms are basically on tents all around the area, and the others are basically within 3 buildings. So it's more like an oasis in the middle of the desert. So the idea is to create a destination and not a resort. So this would have an amphitheater. It has a fitness center. It has its own gym. It has its own pool. It's basically a whole destination with a cafe and a restaurant. So whoever used to go to Al Badayr in the old days, or till today, would actually go there, use their quad bikes, ATVs, SUVs, but they can't actually stay overnight with their families. And so the idea was to create a destination within Al Badayr area. So hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to be opening Al Badayr camp or Al Badayr Oasis. And the idea of calling it an oasis because that's the whole idea of creating a destination out of that location.
True, and that's coming up in the end of this year. We also got the Al Bayt Hotel.
Yes,
that you're very passionate about.
Al Bayt Hotel is one of the closest projects to my heart because it started with an idea maybe more than 5, 6, 7 years ago, where we created the Heart of Sharjah project, which was a 2010 to 2025 year project, re-stitching the whole history of Sharjah, the history of Sharjah that goes back to the 1500s, with looking at what are the components that are missing out in the Heart of Sharjah project. Heart of Sharjah sits next to the creek, next to Sharjah Creek, where the old souks are, the museums are. So the idea was to take a couple of houses, convert them into a hotel, but a very boutique hotel, retaining the whole architecture, the style, the rooms, the courtyards, the sikkas, and creating a destination that I don't think there is any of it within the GCC market. And this you might find them in Morocco, in Tunisia, in Algeria, and some of the historical areas around Europe, but not really in this part of the world, because what happened, many of those historical areas were destroyed. And so the idea in Sharjah, because His Highness had a huge passion about restoring historical areas, Sharjah is one of the only emirates that actually have a lot of history, has a lot of building that goes back to the 70s, 70s, 50s. So the idea was, how can we retain those buildings? So we converted a couple of those buildings into guest houses. Now we have 53 rooms. So you would be basically staying in a maze. So 5 rooms in that house, 10 rooms in the other house, and it's between ground plus 1. And there where you'll find wind towers, one of the only wind towers in the whole region, which is Al Midfa Majlis, talking about a boutique hotel that actually has a museum within it, and has coffee shops and restaurants, and it's just an experience that will take you back to how Sharjah used to be before oil was discovered. And so it was not an easy project for us, because authenticity is very important for us, and preserving history is another component. So you're going to be between art galleries, museums, spice markets, shops, and a living creek.
Yeah, certainly. Lots to catch up on Shurooq and what Sharjah has to offer historically. We'll have to bring you back onto the show. And I think if you've enjoyed this conversation, you can listen back to the podcast. But definitely, I think His Excellency Marwan has to be back and talk to us more about what Sharjah has to offer.
Yeah, we'd love to invite you back in early December to hear about those early days of Al Bayt Hotel, because we are only a matter of weeks from it being launched and open to the public. I've seen I got a sneak peek through the construction site, and it was just incredible to see this vision as you talk about it come to light. It is so unique. So we'd love to have you back on the show and to forecast an outlook what's going to be happening for Shurooq in 2019. Would you come back into the studio?
Definitely. We would love to keep everyone engaged about what's happening within Sharjah. So it's a great honor for us to talk about Shurooq and its developments and how we're transforming Sharjah.
Wonderful.
Sure.
His Excellency Marwan Al Sarkal, the Executive Chairman of Shurooq. Thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.